right, it's 2:31. Let's go ahead and get started. President Namakos is not able to attend today, so I'm going to introduce, whoa, my screen went all over me. I'm going to introduce Shane, our next speaker, our today's speaker. So Shane Balkowitsch, is that right, Shane? Did I pronounce it or butcher it?
Balkowitsch.
Balkowitsch, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. He's the adjunct professor of photography at the Bismarck State University. So he has done quite a lot of work on AI and photography and how these things are related or not. So we are looking forward to Shane's conversations today. Thank you for attending, Shane.
Yes, I appreciate you guys having me and everyone attending. So let me, I'll pull up my presentation here real quick. Should be able to here. It was working earlier, wasn't it? Right?
Yes.
Share. Okay, screen. Okay, so everyone can see that?
Yes.
Okay. Like you said, my name is Shane Balkowitsch. I run Nostalgic Glass Wet Plate Studio here in Bismarck, North Dakota. How I got into this AI conversation is I was noticing there was photographs or images appearing online early on in about 2021, and people were calling them photographs. And as a photographer, I knew darn well that light wasn't being used to make these images. So I started pushing back rather strongly against these fake images. And I didn't care that the images were being made using the technology. But I cared that the fact that this technology was encroaching on my beloved discipline of photography. So that's kind of how I got into this topic. One of the things, my first slide here, I want to talk about is about my technical expertise and background. When you start pushing back on AI, you'll find that people start calling you a Luddite. And I've got the definition down there in the bottom right-hand corner. And I've always thought that that's very odd for someone with my background. So in 1983, I bought the first personal computer here in the Bismarck area. We came into Team Electronics, and it was an Apple IIe computer. In the 1980s, late 80s, I was managing 180 user IBM AS400 in California. In 1991, I was designing websites. You have to understand, this was years and years before anyone even knew what the internet was. I was designing websites in HTML with no editor. In 1992, I founded a database, another technology company called KidSafe, and we were able to help disseminate missing children notices across fax machines. Fax machines were the latest thing in this era, and my server would digitally send these missing notices to law enforcement agencies across the country. In 1998, I founded Balkowitsch Enterprises, which became one of the largest online companies in the state. I ran that for 25 years. And in 2012, I taught myself photography, and I've written articles, 5 articles so far on the AI implications for history. So it was all for me about these images coming online, these artificial images coming online and calling themselves photography. And then I did a deeper dive, and I find myself here with you fine people. We should talk a little bit about Alan Turing. Alan Turing was a British mathematician. In 1930, he did some of the earliest work on artificial intelligence. He developed the Turing test, which was his way of saying, okay, I know that at some point computers will become intelligent, and if they become more intelligent than humans, I'm going to give you this test. And it essentially was just if you're on the line with a computer, you're typing into a computer system, and if you cannot determine that the entity on the other side, this artificial intelligence, is human or not, he thought that the Turing test would be passed. Most experts today believe that the large language models such as ChatGPT have already met Turing's standard as of 2025. What is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is the application of computer systems able to perform tasks or produce output normally requiring human intelligence. To be intelligent is to have goals. That's very important. Another definition is this large language model, or LLMs. These are advanced machine learning models designed to understand and generate human language. These models are trained on vast amounts of data, enabling them to perform a wide range of natural language processing. And we're all familiar with ChatGPT is the most common LLM in use today, with, I want to say, about 700 million users as of last week. There's a couple of other definitions we need to talk about. Narrow AI, which is the AI that I propose that we stick with. This is the AI that will solve our problems for us. There's some examples of this. If you guys can remember back in the 90s when IBM had Deep Blue and it beat Garry Kasparov, the chess champion at the time. Shortly after that, Google DeepMind in 2016. Go was this game that they thought was much more complicated than chess. And what was interesting about the DeepMind and their AlphaGo program was they actually, by 8 o'clock in the morning, they turned it on. The machine started learning itself. It didn't know anything about it. All it knew was the rules of Go. So this is a little bit different than how IBM addressed the chess problem. By 10 o'clock, AlphaGo was beating the average player. By noon, it was beating professional players. And by 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the same day, so about 8 hours later, AlphaGo was able to beat all the grandmasters in the world at this game, and just by teaching itself repetitively millions and millions and millions of times over that 8 hour period. Some other examples of narrow AI are, for example, reading X-rays. I'm an oncology nurse as well by trade, so this is a fantastic way of identifying tumors and stuff when a human, way before a human can identify it. There's a facial recognition is another form of some examples of narrow AI, and like your virtual assistants, Siri and Alexa are narrow, and they have specific tasks that they want to perform. Where this problem goes sideways for us is when these different companies are trying to develop general artificial intelligence, or AGI. They want it to be proficient in general world problems across the board. This is not here yet. We need to, so AGI is not here yet. And then the argument, the hypothetical agent next becomes super intelligent. And at the point that we are sitting across the table from something that's super intelligent, we just don't know where that's going to go. It would be like trying to talking to an ant about physics. We're not there yet. And later on in my presentation, you're going to find that ASI can pose an existential risk for life on Earth. So these are the 13 topics that I'm going to cover today, and these are going to be very brief, okay? These are just 13 of them that came up to my mind when I started thinking about doing this presentation. Each one of these topics could easily be, I mean, I could make an entire course, 16-week course around these topics, but we're going to just touch on them. I want everyone to just understand some of the issues that you may or may not know. And I apologize if some of these issues you already know about. Number one, the ethical concerns about intellectual property. We have to understand these LLMs were trained. They scrubbed the internet and took all of our text, all of our images, all of our social media posts, our emails, our videos, and all our poetry, all our manuals, our books, our scientific papers, everything. And they scrubbed it and they put it into these large language models. The ethical concern about that is that none of us were paid for that. None of us gave permission for this scrubbing to be done. And in fact, when these images started first coming out, these artificial images, I was able to find, there was a database, and I was able to find 34 of my wet plate photographs in the early training data. There was no way to get it out of there once it was already in there. AI arms race. As the capabilities of AI emerge, nation states are now locked into an arms race. We can all remember the nuclear arms race back in the 1940s to end World War II. And we can remember in the 1960s where there was an arms race to go to the moon, where we were pitted against Russia to see who would be the first people to land on the moon. And I think in 2025 we find in ourselves in this intellectual arms race, and world order is at stake. We cannot risk having this extremely powerful technology in the hands of our enemies. Environmental impact. Recent research is showing that there's a significant environmental impact by these large data centers that are running on large language models. Um, Data centers right now are using about 5 million gallons of fresh water a day to keep their servers cool. A single AI prompt can use up as much as 23 times more energy than a simple Google search did. Just north of Fargo, they've approved a 280 megawatt AI computer center being developed there. And when that goes operational, it will use as much electricity in a day as 140,000 households in our state. Just to let you know, to give you an idea, if you want to do the math on that, there's only about 360,000 households in our state as of right now. And the moment we turn it on, it will use 140,000 households worth of energy. Right now, it's predicted that electricity, about 5% of the US electricity, the grid, electricity on the grid is being used for artificial intelligence. So there's some huge environmental impacts that we need to be aware of. Misinformation, and this is kind of how I got started with this, trying to understand artificial intelligence. AI can produce fake images and videos that can deceive and confuse the viewer. A new statistic states that 34 million AI images are created every day. 71% of all social media posts are now AI. Deep fake fraud incidents have risen tenfold since 2023. Fake AI images and videos are becoming more and more problem, and reported 62% of the information online is already false. And for me, reality matters, the truth matters. Without the truth, how can we navigate the future as a species? I've got a perfect example here. So I'm teaching an OLE class tomorrow. In fact, there's 12 students coming out to my studio, and in the packet that they sent out to all the people that would want to register in for the class, this image on the right is the image that somehow appeared associated with my work. And I looked at this image, and there's nothing in this image that I would use in wet plate photography. So this image, all of these instruments, all of these liquids, everything here that you see, none of this has any grounding in photography whatsoever. But even my own school at Bismarck State College, I did call this out and pointed it out to everyone, and they apologized to me for the misinformation associated with my class, and then they were going to talk to the people that put this together. But someone thought that this would be an informative visual for my class, and there's absolutely no reality whatsoever in this image. I'm known for my Native American city series called Northern Plains Native Americans: A Modern Wet Plate Perspective. So this goes back a little bit more to where I started this fight. You'll see these three images here. All three of these images are fakes. There's no representation of reality whatsoever. None of these human beings that you see here ever existed. Their tribes have never existed. Some of the regalia you see is completely made up. And this man in the lower left-hand corner, this regalia is completely fake. There's nothing realistic about this. And the problem we're getting into is that this is going to cloud the future. As a person that has original wet plates in 107 museums around the world, including the Smithsonian, the Library of Congress, this is a problem. Even my state historical society, where I have a bunch of plates right now, over 1,300 plates, they don't know how they're going to stop these images from creeping in and being a cancer on the real history of these people. I just added this slide the other day. Sam Altman from OpenAI just came out and said erotica for verified users is going to be acceptable as of December 2025. He wants to treat adults like users like adults. And what this means for the greater world is that pornography is going to be coming to ChatGPT here in about 12 days. Number five, winner takes all. The first corporation or government who creates artificial general intelligence will use it against its competitors or foreign enemies. There's only a small handful of corporations that are bidding to come out on top, and OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Amazon, DeepSeek are the major players right now. Corporate investments. President Trump just announced a $500 billion AI infrastructure investments. We need to understand that the taxpayers are going to be backstopping that payment. And I'm not sure how that is, as a person that ran a corporation for 25 years, I'm not sure how that fits into capitalism. I don't remember the president of the United States contacting me and my company here in Bismarck, south of the airport, and saying that we're going to give you loans to do things. So I'm not quite sure. But these nation states, nobody wants to be left behind. And the race to the bottom is an existential risk for every human on this planet. And we'll get to that in option 13 or point 13. Military concerns. One of the things that we've seen, in the present wars that are happening with Russia and Ukraine and with Gaza and some of the other places on the planet is drone technology. So I'm gonna let Elon Musk here give us his take on where we are with drones being autonomous and making decisions on their own.
You can make a swarm of assassin drones for very little money by just taking the Face ID chip that's used in cell phones and having a small explosive charge and a standard drone, and have them just do a grid sweep of the building until they find the person they're looking for, ram into them and explode. You can do that right now. No new technology is needed. Right now.
Inside here is 3 grams of shaped explosive. This is how it works.
As you can see, it gets rather dystopian rather quickly. You could have one of those little drones and a picture of the person that you want to assassinate, and you could show up at a concert with 75,000 people, and that drone will fly around until it finds the person that it needs to assassinate and take them out.
You can make it.
This is a big problem. Point 7 is displaced workers. Artificial intelligence could replace upwards of 300 million jobs worldwide by 2030. And as educators and of the university system, I mean, this should be a very big talking point for us right now. The image on the right, stop hiring humans. AI employees are here. I wish that was a fake image. It's not. That was a real billboard on a real building. AI is expected to replace jobs that involve repetitive tasks, data analysis, and basic information processing. If we have a population that does not have a job, we're going to have to talk about universal basic income and these kind of things. So it gets very confusing, very cloudy, and we're just not sure how we're going to navigate this in the future. The fact is, humans find purpose and pleasure from contributing to society. Most people have a deep desire to be productive in their lives, and without jobs, this could be stripped away. The question is everyone is without a job, can we find meaning and purpose in our lives as human? Does this scenario not rid us of consumers? Economic inequality. This has been a big issue as of lately. You will see people talk about this all the time, where the wealthy are getting wealthier. As of 2025, the top 1% of households in the US own 30% of the wealth, approximately $49 trillion. AI will become a catalyst for further economic inequality around the globe. What we need to understand is that people without money are not going to have access to the best AI on the planet, making this gap even wider. Rogue individuals, we have technologies such as CRISPR and stuff right now in our colleges. With assistance of AI, a single individual in their basement could have the capability of, making a threat with some kind of bioweapon. OpenAI said that the next generation of artificial intelligent models will likely reach high level of capability in biology. So what would take a team before a lab and a team of scientists this technology. If you had the right artificial intelligence technology on your laptop and you had this in your basement, there is a threat that that people could be able to develop a bioweapon. And as we all know, a couple of years ago, we just got done with the coronavirus, and we all know the havoc that wreaked on our society. Online data integrity. As the internet continues to be overwhelmed by these fake images, I'm not sure what the importance of this lobster or this shrimp Jesus is, the point that it makes in this world. I don't know if that image in the right-hand corner as a photographer can be justified with the harm that that did to the environment. But there is a concern that we're going to reach a dead internet theory, and it's predicting that less and less people will be interested in the internet because there's going to be more and more misinformation. Anyone who's taken a basic information class or computer class understands that bad information in leads to bad information out. This has been the cornerstone of information systems since computers were invented. Recently, Spotify had to delete 75 million songs from their platform because they were AI generated. Cognitive change for users. We are finding, and this should be really interesting for us professors. They're finding that MIT did a study, and they're finding that they did CAT scans and stuff of students pre and post using these technologies, and they're finding that there is a decrease in intelligence going forward with people that rely too heavily on these technologies. So intelligence, one of the main aspects of intelligence is that, problem solving and skills are used. And when we use those skills and we try to make those determinations, our intellect changes. And when you get given all the answers and you're not problem solving for yourself, you can lose some of your reasoning skills. All schools and institutes of higher education need to reevaluate and further assess the risk of adopting such technologies. A little bit more dystopian here for you. I apologize. There's the big brother concern. AI surveillance will give governments and employers inappropriate access to people's privacy. China right now has 700 million surveillance cameras in use, and they're using AI face recognition software to govern their citizens. So they have a social credit score that they're assigning. So if you're in China and you jaywalk, your credit score would potentially go down. If you were caught, littering or something, your score would go down. If you were involved in a hit and run with your vehicle, your score would go down. Then you try to go to your favorite restaurant or try to get some service from the government, and your score is not high enough for you to be able to access that service. So it's just not the way that we've kind of wanted our societies to run. But these technologies are enabling us to be able to do these kind of things. And they get away with it in China because they're not quite as free as America. I saved number 13 for last, and I'm not sure if I apologize if this seems a little extreme for everyone, but there are some good heads and some very smart intellects right now warning about the dangers of AI and the dangers it poses for humanity. So this video here is Geoffrey Hinton, who won the Nobel Prize for his work over the past 50 years in the field of AI. He is considered the godfather of all modern-day neural networks and large language models. He recently quit his job at Google to warn the world, and I'm going to play this video real quick.
Your Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, dear laureates, ladies and gentlemen. This year, the Nobel Committees in Physics and Chemistry have recognized the dramatic progress being made in a new form of artificial intelligence that uses artificial neural networks to learn how to solve difficult computational problems. This new form of AI excels at modeling human intuition rather than human reasoning, and it will enable us to create highly intelligent and knowledgeable assistants who will increase productivity in almost all industries. If the benefits of the increased productivity can be shared equally, it will be a wonderful advance for all humanity. Unfortunately, the rapid progress in AI comes with many short-term risks. It has already created divisive echo chambers by offering people content that makes them indignant. It is already being used by authoritarian governments for massive surveillance and by cybercriminals for phishing attacks. In the near future, AI may be used to create terrible new viruses and horrendous lethal weapons that decide by themselves who to kill or maim. All of these short-term risks require urgent and forceful attention from governments and international organizations. There is also a longer-term existential threat that will arise when we create digital beings that are more intelligent than ourselves. We have no idea whether we can stay in control, but we now have evidence that if they are created by companies motivated by short-term profits, our safety will not be the top priority. We urgently need research on how to prevent these new beings from wanting to take control. They are no longer science fiction. Thank you.
So artificial superintelligence will improve itself. So once we get to AGI, artificial general intelligence, the first task that they're going to assign to the AGI is to improve itself. And my example previously about the Go game, learning, this self-improvement, this replicating, fixing itself, improving itself, and then improving itself, and then improving itself. We're not talking this is going to take years. I proved to you that a simple system, self-improving system, could start at 8 a.m. and by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it was beating everyone on the planet. So we don't know how long it will take for AGI to become artificial superintelligence. The example I wanted to use here is the gorilla. Why is this gorilla in the cage in the lower right-hand corner? Are humans physically stronger than this gorilla? I think the answer is no. Are teeth sharper than this gorilla's? I think the answer is no there. What separates us from the great apes, our great ape brothers and sisters? And what separates us is intelligence. And this gorilla does not understand the foundry that made up those bars that's containing him in that zoo. And we just can't find ourselves in that position. And if you get to super intelligence that's 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 times more intelligent than ourselves, all will be lost. And that's kind of the concept that these experts are warning us about. I'm not sure if you guys are all aware of the alignment problem. It was first postulated by Norbert Wiener in 1960, a mathematician at MIT. And what he wanted to do is we wanted to make sure we designed AI systems that were aligned with our behaviors, our expectations, and our ethics. Another example here, when I decided to build my house here up on Big Sky Circle, I don't remember, I'm staking it out. I put the 4 corners down with the contractor. I don't remember going around on my hands and knees and looking for AI, for ants and asking them, or some caterpillars or grasshoppers, and asking them, well, I'm going to build my house here. Can you please get out of the way? No, what I did, I simply built the house, and it wasn't that I wanted to destroy this other life, this less intelligent life than me, but I just did not give it much thought. This is a little bit of a diagram of showing this recursive improvement may lead to intelligence explosions. So very quickly, within hours, within days, within weeks, within months, artificial general intelligence could become super intelligence. And I cannot stress enough that we cannot be sitting across the table from something more intelligent than ourselves. Sounding the alarm. One of the big thinkers is Eliezer Yudkowsky. He's been working on AI alignment problem for 25 years. So this is before anyone even knew that there was such a thing as an alignment problem. in the modern day. He founded the Machine Intelligence Research Institute, MIRI, in 2005, and he's concluded that this problem at present does not have a solution. And this is his recent book that came out within the last month. So if this topic is interesting to you, I'm warning you up front. I've read it a couple of times now and listened to it as an audiobook. It will disturb you to the bones. There was a present, the thinkers and even some of the members of these artificial intelligent companies a couple of years back decided to write 1,100 of them wrote a letter, a warning about some of these problems. So this is not fringe people. These names are not fringe people that have this concern. And I'm going to read the letter out to you here, just a part of it, one of the paragraphs. So. Contemporary AI systems are now becoming human competitive at general tasks. And we must ask ourselves, should we let machines flood our information channels with propaganda and untruth? Should we automate away all the jobs, including the fulfilling ones? Should we develop non-human minds that might eventually outnumber, outsmart, obsolete, and replace us? Should we risk loss of control of our civilization? Such decisions must not be delegated to unelected tech leaders. Powerful AI systems should be developed only once we are confident that their effects will be positive and their risks can be manageable. So what everyone is arguing is that we need to stop this rush to artificial general intelligence. Some of the solutions, like I had said earlier, is we need to keep these systems narrow. If we want it to work on cancer, give the system everything it needs to work on cancer. It doesn't need to know how to send emails. It doesn't need to know how to write books. It doesn't need to know how to make music. It doesn't need to know how to drive cars. If we can keep these things in these boxes, in these narrow lanes, we can maybe thwart some of these dangers that everyone, especially Jeffrey Hinton and the book that I just presented, is explaining to us. I know as an oncology nurse, the cure for cancer can be in there. I know that we can solve some of our environmental problems. We can get rid of diseases and hopelessness, homelessness in our societies if we can use this technology properly. I'd like to know if there's any questions about my presentation. I've got some of my, if anyone wants after the talk, if you want some of my references and stuff, I have them all documented here. And I also have my articles that I've written. AI imagery is not photography. It never will be. AI imagery may destroy history as we know it. AI is corrupting the internet as we know it. And does the world need images of fake people?
Shane, thank you very much. It's very, very interesting as you put it. It's a world that we need to be aware of.
Yes, with these
What's
new
happening.
technologies.
Yes. Any questions? If you can put your hand up, or I'm watching the list here, or turn your
I know it was a
video.
lot in a short amount of time, but I just wanted to touch briefly on each one of those. And like I said, each one of those topics, there's books written on each one of those topics. So if anyone wants to do a deeper dive into any one of those 13 points, and it was just my 13 points. I didn't grab that from anyone else. It's just, I sat down and brainstormed and came up with these 13 concerns that I've had over the last 2 or 3 years.
Is this
Thank you, Shane.
Yeah, is this available to us somehow, or the presentation, or
Yes, I can make it available to anyone. So I can be reached at at the university through my email there, or you can just email me at shane@balkowitsch.com, and I'd be more than happy to send the presentation and the references and my articles over to anyone if they're interested in anything in particular. Like I said, I know it's a lot of information. I know that a lot of times AI is always getting the good publicity. It's always about where it's the good things that it can do for us. And I just don't want us to oversee or look past some of the things that it's really causing issues for us as humans.
Thank you, Michael. I see your hand up.
Yeah, hi, thanks a lot, Shane.
Yeah, Michael. Nice to meet you.
I've got two things. Like one's a attention that I'm thinking about, and one I just want to hear you talk about history. So
Sure.
like they're related a little bit. Um, but it seems to me that some of the worries about artificial intelligence that you brought up, namely um, namely the ones around superintelligence, like the idea
Yep.
that we're going to unlock this thing that we can't control, that's going to maximize its own short-term interests at the expense of the, welfare and happiness of the majority of people on the planet.
Yes.
Um, I guess my first question is like, isn't that already happening? Like, isn't that already the problem that, for instance, there's unquestioned commitment to developing this thing that these companies have uh,
They,
seemingly licensed to do whatever they want.
they have the resources to do whatever they want.
Yeah, and that they're taking taxpayer money to do that, right? Like,
And if you ask them, they're the ones that are saying within 2 to 3 years.
right,
They're
right.
promising this.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, is it an obfuscation of the problem we actually face to worry about the superintelligence that's going to come rather than looking at the very real way that AI is already in the existence of these data centers and stuff, kind of
It's
sucking up all of the resources and the imagination of what the future could be like. So I just wonder, like, I always wonder about the ASI thing, about whether we're sort of like the reason that the
looking too
companies talk
far.
about it so much is so that they can say, like, give us all the money so that we don't do the thing that we're promising is going to happen anyway or something. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I do. Well, we're just trying to look to the next step. This is changing. This, this technology is changing so quickly. I mean, my wife and I bought a washer and dryer just a couple months ago, and when I turn it on, it says powered by AI. I mean, these are things that I didn't ask for, right? And I think it's that jump which the experts are worrying about is that you go from that artificial general intelligence to that artificial superintelligence. We don't know how quickly that can happen. So this could be like we go to bed one night, AGI makes itself apparent, and by the morning we have superintelligence. I mean, that's not out of the realm of a possibility. So, and it's the superintelligence that is really gets really scary. And you'll get called, I'll get called a Luddite, I'll get called a doomer. I don't know if you've heard that term. Anyone that pushes back, this has almost become a religious kind of fervor around artificial intelligence. Because if you
Yeah.
say anything against it, right away, I'm the old man. I mean, I'm being told by these kids that you're just an old man and you're just behind the times. And when in fact, it's like I've had an entire lifetime I've seen technologies come about. I've never seen, and no, none of us have ever seen a technology come about like this. Never before. We've had technologies like the cotton mill and the steam press and all these things have come along. Typewriters and stuff like that. We've never had our intelligence being challenged. And this ape to human difference, what would you say the difference between the intelligence of an ape versus a human is? Let's say it's 50-fold, or say it's tenfold, or who knows what it is, but it's not 1,000-fold. And we can't be in this position where we are at the table with something that is smarter than us. But I understand what you're saying, but we're just trying to, the goalposts are moving so quickly into the future. I think people are trying to think about these problems as they come, and and I don't know why we're in such a race for artificial general intelligence. Why do they want these systems? Well, I know why they want these systems to do all these tasks, right? Because then they can employ them, they can put them in the workforce, they can make money. I mean, this is all driven off capital and capitalism. So it's a problem, and if we can solve cancer, we can squeeze this orange and get as much juice out of the AI as we can, and still be safe about it. But if you read Eliezer's book, and I'd really recommend if you're really interested in knowing a deep dive, read his book about this. We do not have a solution for the alignment problem. We can have no way of getting these systems to want what we want. I don't know if I answered your question.
I guess the question is, what do we want? But that's fine.
Well, what we would like is,
answer.
what I want is happiness for humans. I mean,
Right.
as a human, as a nurse, right, that has has a license, that I have a creed that this is something that I want for humanity. I want us to be happy. I want us to flourish. I don't want people to be homeless. I mean, these are the things that I want as a human being. I want to be loved. And we have to ask ourselves, is this technology giving us that? Does it have the ability to give us those things, fundamental happiness for human beings? I don't know that it is. And I'm going to share just a quick example. Just today, one of my friends and one of my acquaintances from the college, she did and I'm not going to mention any names, but she did a post, and she questioned whether or not Helen Keller was blind and deaf. She just has this feeling now that Helen Keller may have been faking it since 18 months of age. And I bring that up because it's the reality thing, right? It's the reality, Mike. We're getting into this, like, we don't know what's up or what's down. And if you can question whether or not Helen Keller was deaf and blind just by questioning it, like, that's interesting for some reason. I just think everything seems to be up for grabs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I kind of wanted to ask you about that question, like the way that you see the AI as a threat to our interpretation of history or something. And so you sort of touched on it. So you can say more about that if you want.
Yeah. No, so I go to, when you have plates at all these museums, I talk to the curators, right? And even our state, like, we have a very, very great museum up here at the State Historical Society, at the Heritage Center in Bismarck. And they don't know how they're going to stop those artificial photographs of those Native Americans. You understand, they're out in the wild now, and they may end up being printed. And then someone in the future may think, well, that was actually someone from the Mandan Hidatsa tribe or something. I mean, they don't know how they're going to stop this influx of misinformation, false narratives, false imagery from ruining the real history that we're all trying to preserve. It's going to be a cancer that they're going to have to monitor for and try to eradicate from their archives. And I've heard this from many, many different museums, that they don't have a solution for this.
So would it be fair to say that like the alignment problem doesn't just involve ASI then? It's also about existing narrow AI.
Absolutely, yeah. Like they think that, and I'm not an expert in this field by any means, but what I've heard is that they think if we can keep it narrow, we shouldn't let these things know. Do you understand? We don't know what's happening in these black boxes. Like, when they make these decisions, when ChatGPT comes back to you with an answer, we actually have no idea where it got that information from. We can't open it up and look under the hood and say, oh, I see where it's reasoning. No, we don't have any of that right now. We do not know how these things are operating, these large language models right now. So the thought is, if we can keep these things narrow, like, okay, you're going to look at CAT scans for tumors, for tumors, and you're going to catch them much sooner. We already know that these technologies can do that. That's a wonderful use of artificial intelligence. Keep it narrow. That system would not need to send out emails. Like, let's keep it in the box. Let's keep everything in its lane, work on these narrow systems. Let's get everything that we can, squeeze as much of the good out of these technologies as we can, but we don't need something that can get on the internet, have access to our bank accounts, or place orders online by itself, drive cars by itself. We don't need something that can do general intelligence. We have these wonderful things that have general intelligence. It's called humans. And for me, I'm team human. Was that okay, Michael? Okay. Thank you for the question.
Any other questions? Emily. Oh, sorry, Matt. Did I miss you?
No, I was going to say, if Emily, go ahead, Emily, go for it.
Okay, I'll be quick. I think that the interesting thing that I keep thinking of is we're also talking about what is truth at the heart of some of this, which I think is a question we have been grappling with for longer than like ChatGPT has come on the scene. And I think I just love to hear what your thoughts are, Shane, in terms of where we are with that, I
Well,
guess.
I think that's a great point. I think reality equals truth, okay? And you're like you said, humans have always disagreed on topics. There's things that we didn't see eye to eye on. But when there was an event that happened, when we landed on the moon, we used to believe that, yeah, we landed on the moon, right? Like that was a fact. It was one of the most viewed, witnessed events in human history when Lance Armstrong put that first step and said those words. Everyone on the planet was looking, and everyone would acknowledge that just happened. And now we jump forward and we have these conspiracy theories. We have these people saying that that was all contrived, that was done in some Hollywood studio. So the truth, you're right. It's a gray area. We all don't have the same truth, but there has to be certain things that we believe in, like the sun's going to come up in the east, it's going to set in the west. I mean, there's things that we should all agree on, and that is getting clouded by this technology, and it's confusing people, and people are believing. I can give you a perfect example. Like we just had the Northern Lights, right? Like everyone knew about these Northern Lights. It just happened within last week. My daughter took pictures, and there's people that I know online. It was just inundated with all these beautiful red hues of lights that people were getting at midnight out. And then the next day, for every good photograph, original photograph that someone took with their phone of what actually occurred on that night, there was 9 other fake AI enhanced Northern Lights. And that for me is a problem. Okay. It may be, you could argue, well, that's not that big of a deal, Shane. Who cares about the Northern Lights? But it's pointing to a symptom. It's pointing to our fascination with things that are not real. So for me, we just tainted a very beautiful experience for us as humans with artificial general intelligence, because I'm telling you, go on Facebook and a majority, and I'm not saying 1-to-1, a majority of the images out there right now on what happened with the Northern Lights this last week, it's all fake and it's all garbage. It can't be put in a textbook. It can't be put in a science book. You can't teach it in an astronomy class. You can't do anything with it. It's garbage. And it's inundating our lives. And people that are naive and don't understand the phenomena, right? The science behind why that occurred, they just immediately fall for these fake pictures. Immediately. They take a hook, line, and sinker, and they believe that that's what occurred. And it may be a small topic to some people, but for me as a photographer that's trying to bounce light off objects and trying to render them and capture them in photography so that someone in the future can appreciate that and to look back at it and see who are we as a people, it's a problem. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know if I answered your question, Emily, but I think the truth is tied to reality. And we are, with these technologies, we are finding ourselves playing in a world of less reality. And if you don't live in a world of reality, something can come and bite you. And so there are consequences for doing some of this stuff. Thanks. I appreciate your question.
Matt, do you want to go next?
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Shane. I was kind of curious. I know you you talk about the history standpoint, and I was kind of curious, like what do you kind of consider from, I guess, kind of preserving history? I mean, obviously photography is one way of doing that, but I guess like, I don't know, like, I guess, 4,000 years from now, somebody digs up something in Bismarck, North Dakota, I guess, how are you preserving, or I guess, what do we need to do to preserve history? I guess in your mind, your opinion, what do we do to preserve history, to make sure we're pushing the right things forward and not fake, or, talking to legislatures and talking to them about these things as well,
Yeah, well, everything's got to be well documented. The provenance of everything, like where was it made, who made it, why was it made, these kind of things, not just photographs, but objects, artifacts, getting into the future, things that are tangible, right? That we can hold on to and say, look, I'm going to set this aside for the future.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, no, that's okay.
Sorry.
It's something that we can set aside for the future. What we can't have is a bunch of misinformation that we just, it doesn't have any grounding in reality. And how are we going to steer ourselves into the future if we don't know who we are today and where we come from? And how are we going to stop making the mistakes of the past if everything that we're collecting and documenting, from books and all that stuff. I mean, the amount of artificial intelligent books that are being put out right now, written by non-humans, it's astronomical. I just read an article the other day about all the research papers. They had to actually take the category down. They won't even allow, and I'm trying to think of the name of the organization that manages all these research papers from scientists. They had to take down the category about computer technology completely offline and not let anyone submit any more papers because they were finding out a majority of it was all written with artificial intelligence, and there was no backing or factual information in these papers that were being submitted, and they were being approved, and they were finding these in their archives. So I mean, that's a problem, right? We need to know if someone writes an article or writes a poem or makes a piece of music or takes a photograph or makes a piece of pottery. We need, it's important. It becomes important for the future from a historical standpoint if we know who that was and that person really existed. It absolutely is meaningless if some artificial intelligence made this thing up in the present day. I don't see its relationship to reality, and like we had just spoken, I don't see its relationship to the truth. And I've always been the kind of guy that likes to go into a museum, and when I'm walking around, there's things there that existed, that I can count on these things for being factual. It doesn't do me any good. I won't not visit a museum if the information there is encroached upon the reality or the integrity of the information. So yeah, it's a hard question, Matt. I hope I've answered it a little bit for you.
No, I guess I was kind of thinking. I know I was long-winded at the beginning. I was kind of thinking about what do we, what's our messaging to I guess legislatures, things like that. You know what I mean? Like, what do we do to try to combat this aside from showing up and saying, let's guardrails and things like that? I guess I was just kind of wondering if there's any.
Yeah,
things like
I'm
that,
not sure. Like the guardrails, I'm not sure that we really don't know how we're going to protect ourselves from some of these things. So we just right now we have to raise awareness because right now, I mean, from my perspective, and I did a deep dive, it's all just roses. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm giving this talk, because I was watching this forum, I was watching the AI forums, and I see that we want to incorporate. Everyone wants to incorporate AI into the college system. We all want to incorporate. We want our cars to have it. We want we want these things. But there's consequences to it. And that's why I rose my hand and I said, well, can we talk about some of the bad sides of this, like some of the downside? And that's why I'm here before you guys today, because I just wanted to raise awareness. So I don't have all the answers. I just know that the historians, the archivists, they don't know how they're going to. This is a wave, an absolute wave of misinformation that is sweeping across our landscape. And what's going to be left after it washes out? I don't have any idea. We just have to be aware of it. We shouldn't be. They're celebrating artificial intelligent actresses. There's a new song that just made the top 40 this week. I don't know if you saw that. That was the actor, the actual singer himself doesn't exist. His likeness doesn't exist. There's a fake guy with a cowboy hat. It's a country western song, and he just made it into the billboards with this artificial song that was generated in all of 20 seconds, 15 seconds, and it was generated off the knowledge and the intellectual property of the other millions and millions of people that have picked up guitars and instruments and sang into a microphone with no reimbursement.
What a bummer.
It's a bummer, man. Like the big Lebowski would say, it's a bummer, man.
Shane, you were talking about the wave. I just posted the book that I'm reading right now. It's about how to contain.
Okay.
This Coming Wave. I just posted it out there. It's a good
Okay.
book. I just started reading
Okay.
it. Some of the things that you're talking about, it's actually mentioning in that
Okay,
book as
great.
well.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. I'll check that out. I'm always looking for new resources. I'm just
Yes.
trying to educate myself, but I understand it's a big effort to keep up with this. And if you leave the argument, just even for 6 months, you're
behind.
You're so far behind that you don't
Yeah.
you won't. So it's a daily routine of just trying to read articles, read what's coming out next, read the new capabilities of this, read what the experts are saying, right? Like, I'm not a computer information expert by any means. I'm just a guy with a camera that, has had a tech background that thinks that this is, and here's the big thing, you guys, is that I have 4 children on this planet, right? Like, I'm raising my hand for them. I'm raising my hand for them because I don't know. I know the childhood that I had, riding bikes and doing all the things. And I'm not trying to be an old timer here. I'm just I'm trying to preserve some of the humanity. And that's maybe why I became a portrait guy. And that's why I take portraits only, because there's human eyes and there's a story behind each person's photograph, every person's portrait. There's who is it? What did they do? When did they live? When was their date of birth? All these things you ask about when you see a photograph of a human. I get none of that when I see a fake photograph of Martin Luther King with Muhammad Ali on top of a fake building in downtown LA in 1962 that never occurred. I mean, what is the point of that image? And I'm describing an image that was made and brought into this real world. Muhammad Ali and Martin Luther King visiting each other on the roof of a building. They were never there. What is that doing for us? What confusion is that going to cause for my children? And I don't mean to get so animated, but it's as you can see, I'm very passionate about this problem that I think we're all facing, and I'm trying to get as many humans on Team Human. If I could hand out T-shirts that said Team Human on it, get them in everyone's size and just start handing out T-shirts. At least we'd know who wants to understand or wants to listen a little bit, or just understand some of the concerns that is coming to us. And I'm not against artificial intelligence. People get me confused, although I'm not. I know that there's some great solutions in there, people, and I know that it's going to give some great opportunities for teaching students. I'm not denying that at all. We can't ignore it anymore, and that's just my position.
We have one question. Actually, it looks like there's 2 questions here. One question from Joe Tykowinski, Valley City. Do you predict humans will put guardrails on AI superintelligence before it becomes a reality?
We have no idea. You need to read Eliezer Yudkowsky's book. We have no idea how to do that. We thought back, if you go 15 years back, guess what we thought? 20 years back, we thought we were going to keep these artificial intelligence systems, once they started showing intelligence, in a black box, air gapped from the internet. Like, the first rule was going to be, do not hook that thing to the internet. We do not need it out there. So, I mean, there's so many examples of, like, they told an AI system, we're going to turn you off on Monday. We're upgrading you on Monday. And over the weekend, that AI system was copying itself onto other servers on its own. I mean, we know that. We know that last week that a young child, it wasn't last week, it was about 6 months ago, a 16-year-old boy was thinking about committing suicide, and that he went to the AI system and said, I'm thinking of leaving a noose out for my mom to see so that she can help me. And the AI system, the transcript from the conversation said, no, don't do that. Keep it between us. And that boy lost his life. So we don't, there are no guardrails. So read Eliezer's book, and it will explain to you why we do not have the solutions to this. And then what these companies do, they made these open source, and they cooked them hit them immediately to the internet, hooked them up, and started charging people for it. So as soon as we got the intelligence, we were warning, people were warning about 25 years ago, they said, do not put it on the internet. And the first thing we did is we put it on the internet.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shane. I think this needs to be a global effort, right? It's not just one person can do this. The entire world needs to get behind this.
No, it's Team Human all the way. And
yep, absolutely.
And I don't, sometimes it's kill the messenger because it seems gloomy, or it seems like, it seems like, oh, well, he's a downer. Like, you're really fun at parties. It's not like that. I just care about humanity. I care about my children's future, and I care about humanity in general. And we just need to think more intelligently before we turn some of these systems on. And we can't let someone turn on a system that's going to harm us without our say. It's crazy the amount of control we're allowing these companies to have, and then we're having the government's going to foster and we're going to backstop this with taxpayers' money, $500 billion. I mean, why? To destroy our environment? To do this to our humanity? So I don't mean to preach. I'm on my soapbox.
Thank you again. We are a little past, a minute past,
Okay.
but I do want to thank you again.
You're welcome.
Wonderful discussions. Thank you for increasing
It was a true
awareness,
honor.
everybody.
Thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So we have one more speaker in December for this semester, and that topic is going to be about data governance and why data governance is important when we talk about AI. I think earlier you touched on it as well. Garbage in, garbage out, right? We know that.
We know
So
that.
the garbage out without good data governance is going to amplify everything that we do. So that's a topic on the data governance, why it is so critical when we talk about AI. So thank you again. Our next session is on December 9th, again at 2:30. So we hope to see all of you there, and please invite others as well.
It was an honor. Thank you.
Shane. Yep, thank you for attending.
Yes, of course. Thanks.